Good morning all, welcome back to Sew Granny Sew, and also welcome back to our block 2 of our Valentine's Day blocks. So today we are going to do a hugs block of X and O for hugs and kisses. So I have my pieces all cut out here, and a few of the items that we're going to need, of course, your rotary cutter, your pins, you can use a scissors if you'd like to cut your squares apart, our pencil, our ruler, and of course our cutting mat and fabric. So what we're going to need on this one is I have this white swirl fabric. It is 28 2.5-inch squares. And then also in the white swirl, we're going to need 16 1.5-inch squares. And then in our opposite colored fabric, I'm using red on this one. You're going to need 8 2.5-inch squares and 8 1.5-inch squares. So those are your sizes of the fabric you're going to need. I'm going to go ahead and clear this up and we're going to get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we are going to lay out our block. So we need to have, of course, our outer rows of white, and it will be 6 across and 6 up and down. Okay, we'll set the rest of those aside for now. And then we are going to need our X blocks. And there'll be one in each of the 4 corners. And then one right at the end of those, meeting up to the middle. Then we are going to fill all of our other spots in with the white blocks. Okay, now with our little blocks, we need to form our X in all of them. So what we're going to do, and it's not going to look right off the bat, but we're going to put a red one there and there. And then we're going to put them this way as well. Okay, and for our white ones, we're going to put it there on every one going through here. So we're going to put them on each of the red blocks on the outside and the inside. And we are also going to do it on these ones. So that's all of our pieces of fabric. So what I'm going to do is we're just going to work with the inner part where the X is at. So we're going to go ahead and take all these white ones away on the outside border. Okay, and we're going to start one row at a time here. So on this first red block, I'll start at this one so you can see. We are going to flip these over to the back and we're going to draw our diagonal line from corner to corner. If you can sew this without drawing that diagonal line, if you got a graph on your sewing machine or you can kind of eyeball it because they are only 1.5 inches. But I'm going to mark one for starters for you. And you are flipping it over to the back to do so. Okay. Then we're going to take that block, make sure we have them going the right direction like this. We're going to get those all lined up. And we're going to pin those on each side of that line. Then we're going to bring that to the sewing machine and we're going to sew right down that line that we drew in there. So we're going to do that with all of these. So everyone that has a little square on it, we need to draw that line on and pin that in place. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done and I will meet you back here. So we have all of our pieces sewed, even though you probably can't see some of it. So you just want to make sure, because your X is going this way, that you sew each of your diagonal lines on those towards the way you need it to go. So this one will be going this way. Another one thing I wanted to point out is if it has the red background or the X background, it's always going to have two corners on it. So all these red pieces all have the two corners on that are sewn opposite in that diagonal. Okay, and as you'll notice with the white, they always have just one corner on. So if you wanted to do it chain stitching like that all the way through, you can do that. You wouldn't have to lay it all out like I did. But either way you want to use, just so you can keep track of it, of what you're doing. So once again, the colored will have two on, this background will have one on. So now that we got them all sewn together, we're just going to take our little ruler, line up that 1/4 inch mark with that seam we just put in there. And we are just going to trim them all down. So that's how we're going to do those ones. And these ones we're just going to do both sides is all. So I'm going to go through and get them all trimmed down. We will finger press them open. And then we'll bring them to the iron and press the seams on those. So when you do that, I don't have this turned on, but I'm going to show you. You're just going to put it down. It'll be finger pressed open already. And we're just going to set that iron on there. We're not going to push on the fabric or nothing. So that's all there is to the pressing of it. So I'm going to go ahead and get these all trimmed down, get them pressed open, and then I will meet you back here. So we have all of our squares trimmed down and pressed open. So I laid them back out how we're going to sew them. So just like the heart in the last video that I will link in the description below, we're going to sew into 3 rows. So we're going to flip this over to that. And the 3rd row over onto the 4th. And then the 5th row over onto the 6th. So when we put our stick pins in, we're going to want all of our stick pins facing towards that way. So I didn't line them up perfect, as you can see. We're just going to get those pins in, and then we're going to bring them over to the machine, and we'll straighten them out as we're putting them on the machine. We're just going to pin them all just like that. So when we have seams like this that we have to line up, we're just going to make sure that this seam here is lined up with this seam here, right at that edge there. And then we're going to line up those ends. And once again, you have that same thing on this one. So you want to make sure those are nice and lined up. Okay, now that we have them all pinned together, we're just going to start at the top and work our way back towards the bottom of the block. And we're going to stack them all up. And that just helps keep it a little bit organized for when we sew them together. That way each row will be together. So we're going to bring them to the sewing machine, and we're just going to feed them through one after another. So we'll go like that, and we'll just feed them right through the machine without breaking our thread at all. So I'm going to go ahead and get those all sewn together. I'll iron them flat, and I will meet you back here. Okay, so we have our rows sewn together in sections of 3. So now we're just going to go ahead and flip that row onto the middle. And once again, we're just going to pin those into place. We'll bring them to the sewing machine, put a 1/4 inch seam along there, come back, iron that open, and then we'll attach that row in the same way. So I'll go ahead and get that done, and I will bring you back here. Block is coming along nicely. We have all of our rows done. As you can see, we iron them opposite. So this one goes this way, this one goes that way, and so forth up and down the block. So to put them together, all we're going to do is flip that row over on that row, nest those seams together and pin it into place. And we're going to do that with each one of the seams, making sure this top edge here is lined up. For those that are not familiar with nesting, when your seams nest together, you're going to feel, you can feel that it's lined up and it's not going to go either way when you push on it. So when you get it, put your fingers on there and you can feel that it's laying nice and flat and that seam butts up to the other seam underneath, and then you're going to pin it. Okay, once we have that one pinned, then we're just going to do the same thing with the next one. So we're going to just keep going like that, pinning them together all the way through the block. And then once we get them all pinned, we're going to take them to the sewing machine and we're going to put a 1/4 inch seam all the way along that. We're going to come back, iron them open, and then we're going to connect the pieces together just like we did these. So I'll get it all together and I will meet you back here. Our X blocks for our hugs is all finished now. We're going to go ahead and trim that up. I did, if you look right here, you can see on the corners that we put in, it's a little off. Well, if you look at this part, remember how the other one was just barely 12.5? This has plenty of extra, all that extra. So I don't think my sewing machine is sewing exactly 1/4 inch seams. So I will have to check that before we move on to the next block. But in the meantime, we'll go ahead and get this one trimmed up. So I'm just lining this diagonal line up from corner to corner of these peaks to make sure I'm centered on the actual design. And then we're going to go ahead and trim that up. This is a 12.5 inch square. We now have our heart and we have our X done. The next block we're going to do is the O. Watch for that one. That one should be out tomorrow. And then, you know, I got to thinking about it. I do writing in my quilts with block letters like this instead of applicating them on quite a bit for a few different ones. So I think I might do an alphabet series where you can follow along and learn how to do your alphabets. Like I said, there's some stitching that's off on this one. I'm okay with it because it's just a fun, probably a kid's Valentine's Day quilt. In the other ones, we'll get more precise with it in the alphabet series. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. We're definitely going to be adding some more different Valentine's colors to it. So you could do a quilt that says, 4 blocks across with love, and then the 2 hearts on each side, 1 heart on each side, and then the X and O. That'd be really cute. As always, guys, if you found this video useful, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. It really helps our channel grow. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button because we'd love to have you here at Sew Granny Sew. Thanks all. Have a good day. Bye.